want to add this into its own video or add it to my vlog, but here this is. I came home from VidCon tonight, like literally 20-30 minutes ago. I wanted to record this because I am going to end up forgetting what happened in this specific situation. It's kind of a lot, so here we go. Well, I met Tana Mongeau on July 13th, which is yesterday when I'm recording this. It was a fucking trip. First of all, the meet and greet lines at VidCon are very interesting. Usually in a line, like, it is either straight all the way or it makes a snake, you know? But that's not the case at VidCon, especially when it comes to meet and greet. So basically, you check in before the line, obviously. So there's a line to get into the line, and then there's the actual lines. And they're all straight, so they go forward like that. And they're side by side. So you go downstairs to the meet and greet hall, and once you go to the set line that the person you're meeting is in, you get your RFID wristband scan to obviously make sure that you are seeing the right person, you know? But yeah, and then you enter these straight lines that are side by side. So the first line is directly behind the check-in area or whatever. Everybody that goes to meet and greet wants to be in the first line. Duh. And then once that line fills up to right behind where the checkpoint is, you start the second line. And I was in the third line. And for all my other meet and greets, I was in the first. So I was just so when I got down there initially, I knew I had to be in line 12. And I was okay, looking for it. It's closer to where the entrance is to the hall. And there was a line to get into the line to get into the line. And I was and I was about to skip it, but then I asked the person that was at the end of that line, and I was like,
"Is this for Tana?"
And they're like, "Yeah." And I was like,
"Shit."
So yeah, I waited in that line, I got my RFID wristband scanned, I hopped into the third line. And once it gets closer to the time to meet that person, you move up the lines again. And they're all barricaded by those freaking belt thingies, you know? They look like seat belts, but they just loop around, and they're really shitty because they don't really ever stay. I was waiting in the third line, and then they shift the lines forward more. So they're all, there's two boxes. There's this box for the first line. So this is check-in right here. The first set of lines, and then another set of lines in front of that. The lines just keep moving forward, but they're all barricaded at first. We move up. The whole weekend I refused to sit down waiting for a meet and greet, but that day I was I am exhausted. I was on my phone, blah blah. I didn't really make any friends because I was so over it, because I ended up starting my period that day and I was livid. And then in true Tana fashion, homegirl was 20 minutes late, and the meet and greet times are set between this time to this time. So it's usually a 2-hour period. So hers were 2:30 to 4:30 because she had a Q&A at 5 or something. So yeah, and we were everybody was getting impatient, and she had so many people in her line. And I forgot to also mention that in order to get a certain person for meet and greet, you enter in a lottery. So you basically pick 15 people, and usually in my experience I got at least the first 10 people, but you can only get 4 out of those 10 people. The more you want to see someone, the higher they should be on your list of meet and greets. Within my top 10, I had Tana, Kristen McAtee, and Timothy Delgado. I also got Chris Clemens, but I didn't end up seeing him because his meet and greet was later in the day and we wanted to go to Downtown Disney for dinner, so I ended up ditching it, which I don't regret. Tana was my top choice, so I got her and I was wow.
Thank God.
And then Kristen was my second or third, and then Tim was lower in my top 10. I ended up getting all 3 of them, and I was super happy about it, swag. So it was just a lot of waiting. I feel I waited about 2 hours to see her. And I was fuming. So the way it works, once the person is there, the first line obviously goes first. And then the line is supposed to move forward. And the more it keeps moving forward, the emptier that line gets. And then it hops to the second. And then it's you push forward to meet her. But the first line was going. The meet and greets were starting. But the first line was not moving. And I was And then once me and a bunch of other girls realized that the line was not moving, we were getting pissed. I ended up making friends-ish with the girls behind me. Yesterday, July 13th, was when I realized that Tana's demographic is very young. So I made friends with this little girl that was a David fan. And then I made friends with these 2 little girls. I ended up following them on Instagram. They're so cute. And they reminded me so much of Emma, and I love Emma. But we'll talk about Emma later because I will get mad. And then these 3 other girls that seemed around my age. So we were just talking, blah, blah. It was super casual. I wasn't super friendly because I was irritated and my hormones were raging and I was just pissed entirely. I started talking to them because they were oh, why is the first line not moving? We were just all consecutively getting pissed. And then we figured out that some people that were in the second line jumped to the first line, which is why it was going by so slow. Literally, this girl that was in the second line saw her sister in the first line, but they were lined up together. And then the girl behind me goes, "Wasn't that girl the one next to us?" And then the girl that's in the second line, whose sister cut, said, "Yeah, that's my sister." And I was and she was "Yeah, she does that sometimes." I'm And then the girl that was behind me was like, well, she seems really nice. Oh my god, I was literally just holding my breath because I wanted to explode. And I did, but we'll get to that. Okay, so we finally start up the second line. And the second line is going by just as slow as the first. And then this mom that's in front of me notices that these really tall ass girls are in the back of the second line. And she was like,
I didn't see them when we entered this line.
And this mom was being very vocal about it. And then I was like, yes, like go off. If she wasn't gonna say something, then I would have. So the second line moves up slow as fuck. And I'm at the beginning-ish of the third line. So I'm just like, hurry the fuck up, because homegirl was already 20 minutes late. The lines were moving by slow as fuck. They were only taking 3 pics each of everyone, but I got 2. It was getting down to the end of the second line, but it was still going absolutely fucking slow. And this mom says something about it. She was like,
oh, I didn't see those girls that are at the end of the second line. When did they get there?
And then they like come up next to me. I just popped the fuck off. I was like,
oh my god, I just love how like people cut in line when we've all been waiting the same amount of time to see her. It's not like it's like first come first serve or anything, you know?
And I was just being such a bitch about it. And then this girl, she had the audacity to talk to me. She was like,
we didn't cut in line.
And then I turned to the girls that I like made friends with. I was like,
is she coming for me right now? Because like if she wasn't a cutter, she wouldn't feel some type of way.
One of the first things we learn in grade school is not to cut. And she just starts like looking at me, and I'm like, she's probably underage. So yes, I picked a fight with someone that was underage, but she should have known better. But let's just also guess her race. You are correct. And I was just like, oh my god, like I was so irritated, like I was hungry. Like by the time I left, low key, it was like almost 5 o'clock. And I was just like, tick tick bitch, I gotta go. All of my friends were upstairs having the time of their life, just wandering around the convention. And I was sitting down on the floor for 2 hours waiting for Tana. And then this girl was like just trying to get hella vocal with me low key. And I was like, you wouldn't feel some type of way if you didn't cut, but like go off. And then this mom talked to one of like the people that was like working the line or whatever. They were wearing like red polos, and she was at the beginning of my third line, and she was like,
I didn't see them when I entered this line. So where did they come from? Because we've all been waiting
here. And I was like, yes mom, yes mom, yes mom. And then the lady like had said something to the person that manned the first set of lines that we have to go through, and she was like,
oh, I added them to the second line.
And I was like, why? Because technically how it works, it's first come first serve, obviously. So if you get there early, you get in the first line. The people that were at the end of the second line were put in the second line after the third line had already been formed. But like that's not how it works, because you're supposed to move the people that are at the front of the third line to the back of the second, and then move them to the front of the third, like duh. Which is why I hate the meet and greet lines, because if it was squiggly, we wouldn't have an issue. But yeah, I was livid. And then this girl starts crying, and I literally said out loud,
is crying going to make anything better?
Her face turned red, and then homegirl behind me with the red lipstick was like,
she's turning red. She's really crying right now.
And I was like, oh my god, the privilege. This girl was with her friend or her sister or whoever the fuck. And then literally her grandparents, her nana and her pop walk up. And they're like, oh, what happened, blah, blah, blah. And I said,
homegirl, you brought your grandparents to VidCon?
The girls looked more than capable of taking care of themselves, you know, like old enough to not need a chaperone. But like VidCon is a lot of walking, and you brought your grandparents. And they were not like, you know, like, ooh, like young and hip grandparents. Like they were low-key on the early elderly side. They still ended up seeing Tana before me. But like, go off, privilege, can't relate in any aspect. I am a woman of color. Damn, I was so pissed. And I was pissed for the people that were after me. I was just so mad. And then I ended up seeing Tana in like a super bad mood. Like I was like over it. Literally I walked up to her and I was like, bitch, where have you been? Like she was my homie. And we were both wearing Fashion Nova, and like it was like a super fun experience. And it was really like, she was really sweet to me because I feel like she could tell my vibe was off. And like I was walking away, like I gave her a hug, and she's like, no. She's like, are you satisfied? Like, are you okay? Making sure that like my experience with meeting her was cool. And I was like, girl, like yes, like I love you so much. And then I hugged her and she's like, I like her, she's real. Because I don't even remember what I said to her. I was just low-key going off. I was like,
girl, I waited 2 hours. You were 30 minutes late.
She's like, nice. Then I walked away. I gave me my card. He was pissed at me probably because I think I took like 5 minutes with her, and all the friends that I made were behind me. I had to sign a waiver with MTV because they were recording the entire thing. And then he was like, how old are you? And I was like, oh, 21. And then he was like, perfect. I signed it and blah blah. And if I am not on Tana Turns 21, we are gonna have some issues. The mic was down and everything. There was 2 cameras, one on each side of the meet and greet. Like, give me my fame, sis. I need to stack my coin. But yeah, that was my experience with meeting Tana. Most of it is a blur because I was livid the entire time. And I was really hoping to run into those girls. Nana, pop, like, take them home. Overall, it was a really good experience, so like, maybe we'll talk about it, maybe we won't, but thank you guys for watching this rant. Privilege really speaks volumes, and I cannot relate in any aspect. like whatsoever. Comment down below if you were at that meet and greet. Thumbs up for JanaCon. Jake ended up pulling up to her Q&A and I was like, is that fucking allowed? Maybe Jake will be at VidCon next year. Will I be? Probably not. I will probably buy a day pass if we be. It's a no for me, dog.